The morning rush at Le Ciel, one of Manhattan's most upscale restaurants, was always hectic. For Lily, it meant another day of balancing trays, memorizing complex orders, and smiling through exhaustion. As she tied her apron around her waist, she glanced at her hands, once destined for concert halls, now carrying plates of overpriced food to people who barely looked at her. "Table 7 needs water refills," barked the floor manager as he passed by. Lily nodded and grabbed a crystal pitcher. She moved between tables with practiced grace, invisible to the wealthy patrons discussing business deals and vacation homes. 3 years earlier, those same hands had flown across piano keys at Juilliard, where she'd been one of their most promising students. The daughter of Chinese immigrants who had sacrificed everything for her musical education, Lily had been on track to become the concert pianist her parents had dreamed she would be. Life had other plans. The memory of that rainy night still haunted her. The phone call, the rush to the hospital, the doctor's solemn face as he told her about the car accident that had taken both her parents. That same week, while practicing for hours through her grief, she'd developed excruciating pain in her right wrist. The diagnosis, carpal tunnel syndrome, severe enough to require surgery and months of recovery. With medical bills mounting and no family to support her, Lily had been forced to withdraw from school, losing her scholarship. The surgery had helped, but without proper follow-up. Therapy, she couldn't regain the technical precision required for professional classical performance. "You're working the Davenport event tonight," her boss informed her as she finished her morning shift. "Wear your best uniform." He tips well when he's in a good mood. Lily felt her stomach tighten. Everyone knew about Victor Davenport, the tech millionaire whose company had revolutionized artificial intelligence. Worth billions, he was known as much for his innovations as for his temper and the way he treated service staff. "Is there anyone else who can go?" she asked quietly. Her boss shook his head. "He specifically requested our best servers. That's you, like it or not." Back in her tiny apartment that afternoon, Lily sat on the edge of her bed staring at the electronic keyboard pushed against the wall. She hadn't played in months. Sometimes she couldn't bear to touch it, the instrument a reminder of everything she'd lost. Other times she'd sit late into the night, playing softly with headphones so her neighbors wouldn't hear, letting the music wash away the day's indignities. On impulse, she pulled the keyboard onto her lap and plugged in her headphones. Her fingers found a familiar Chopin nocturne, one her mother had loved. She played tentatively at first, then with more confidence as muscle memory took over. For 15 minutes she wasn't a waitress. She was a musician again, lost in the rise and fall of the melody. The alarm on her phone jolted her back to reality. Time to get ready for the Davenport party. As she applied minimal makeup and pulled her long black hair into a neat bun, Lily reminded herself that this job paid her rent. It kept her fed. It was honest work, even if it wasn't what she had trained her whole life to do. The Davenport mansion stood imposing against the darkening sky, all glass and angles on a hill overlooking the city. Lily arrived with the catering team, immediately assigned to pass hors d'oeuvres as guests began to arrive. The great room took her breath away, not just for its opulence, with its soaring ceilings and wall of windows showcasing the city lights, but for what stood in the center, a magnificent black Steinway grand piano. Lily couldn't help but stare as she arranged tiny canapes on her silver tray. That piano probably cost more than she would make in 10 years. "Beautiful, isn't it?" A voice startled her. One of the other servers nodded toward the instrument. "Davenport bought it last year. They say he paid extra to have it delivered by helicopter because it couldn't fit in the elevator. Doesn't even play, just has it for show." Lily felt a familiar ache in her chest, the kind that came whenever she saw a piano she couldn't play. "That's a shame," she murmured. As the night progressed, the mansion filled with the city's elite. Tech entrepreneurs, Wall Street executives, fashion designers, and even a few celebrities. Lily moved efficiently through the crowd, invisible except when someone needed a fresh drink or another bite of expensive food. She had nearly completed her shift without incident when she entered the kitchen to refill her tray and heard raised voices. The catering manager was speaking with the head chef, both looking stressed. "Davenport is asking why the seafood canapes aren't being served in the East Wing. Apparently half his guests haven't seen them," the manager was saying. "I've been sending trays that way all night," the chef replied. Exasperated, the catering manager spotted Lily. "You, Take 2 trays of the lobster bites to the east wing immediately, Davenport himself is asking. Balancing 2 heavy trays, Lily made her way to the less crowded section of the house. As she entered a smaller sitting room, she nearly collided with a tall man in an expensive suit. "I'm so sorry." "Sir?" she said, quickly steadying the trays. The man turned, his expression hardening as he looked at her. Victor Davenport was younger than she expected, maybe in his early 40s, with the kind of confidence that came from never hearing the word no. "About time," he said, taking in her uniform. "My guests are asking where the food is. I apologize for the delay, sir. Would you like a lobster canapé?" She offered the tray. He took one, popping it into his mouth. "I've seen you before," he said after swallowing. "You work at Le Ciel?" Lily was surprised he'd noticed her. "Yes, sir. I'm a regular server there." "You're the one who mixed up my order last month." His eyes narrowed. "The chef's special with the sauce on the side, not mixed in." Lily felt heat rise to her cheeks. She remembered the incident. He had berated her in front of the entire restaurant, then demanded a new meal and her removal from his service. "I apologize for that mistake, sir. It won't happen again." "See that it doesn't." He gestured toward a group of people near the windows. "Take those over there. And bring more champagne." As she moved away, she heard him mutter something about incompetent staff. Lily kept her face neutral, a skill she'd perfected over years of customer service. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction of seeing how his words stung. For the next hour, she focused on doing her job flawlessly. When she returned to the kitchen for what she hoped would be her last assignment of the night, the catering manager pulled her aside. "Davenport wants all staff to remain until the end of the party," he said. "Apparently he's planning some kind of announcement and wants full service until everyone leaves." Lily checked her watch, already past midnight. "Do we get overtime?" she asked, knowing the answer. The manager shrugged. "We'll see what we can do. For now, just keep the guests happy." She returned to the main room, now crowded with increasingly intoxicated partygoers. The live jazz band had taken a break, and someone had connected their phone to the sound system, playing popular dance music. Lily wove through dancing couples, collecting empty glasses and dodging flailing arms. As she passed the magnificent piano, she couldn't help but let her free hand brush lightly across its closed lid. What she wouldn't give for just 5 minutes alone with this instrument. "You play?" asked a woman in a red dress, noticing the gesture. "I used to," Lily replied with a small smile before continuing on her way. She didn't see Davenport watching this exchange from across the room, his eyes calculating as he sipped his whiskey. She didn't notice how he followed her movements for the next 20 minutes, or how he whispered to a few of his closest friends, who then looked her way with curious expressions. Lily was focused on finishing her shift, getting home to her apartment and kicking off her painful shoes after being on her feet for over 12 hours. She was thinking about the bills due next week and whether her next paycheck would cover them all. She had no idea that in less than an hour, her life was about to change dramatically. All because a bored, arrogant millionaire had decided she might provide some entertainment for his guests. The party had reached that point in the night when the carefully maintained sophistication began to slip. Cocktail glasses were refilled too often, laughter grew louder, and the invisible line between the servers and the wealthy guests became even more pronounced. Lily kept her head down, moving efficiently through rooms that cost more than she would earn in a lifetime. "Everyone, may I have your attention, please?" The booming voice cut through the noise of the party. Victor Davenport stood near his grand piano, glass in hand, commanding the room with practiced ease. The music faded, conversations halted, and all eyes turned toward their host. "I want to thank you all for coming tonight to celebrate our company's successful acquisition of Tech Future," Davenport continued, his voice carrying across the vast room. "As you know, when I set my sights on something, I don't stop until I get it." Appreciative laughter and a smattering of applause followed. Lily used the distraction to collect empty glasses, hoping to finish and leave as soon as possible. Her feet ached, and tomorrow's morning shift would come too soon. "Tonight is about more than business, though," Davenport said, swirling the amber liquid in his glass. "It's about talent, about recognizing potential and putting it to use." Something in his tone made Lily glance up. To her horror, she found Davenport looking directly at her, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth that didn't reach his eyes. "You there, waitress," he called out, pointing at her. "Come here." The room fell silent. Lily froze, the tray of glasses suddenly heavy in her hands. She looked around, hoping he meant someone else, but there was no mistaking it. Davenport beckoned impatiently. With no choice, Lily handed her tray to another server and made her way toward him, conscious of every eye in the room following her. Her heart hammered in her chest. "What's your name?" Davenport asked loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Lily, sir," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "Lily," he repeated, turning to address his guests. "I observed something interesting earlier. Our Lily here seems quite taken with my piano." He gestured grandly toward the magnificent Steinway. "I caught her caressing it when she thought no one was looking." Titters of laughter rippled through the crowd. Lily felt her face grow hot with embarrassment. "Do you play, Lily?" Davenport asked, though from his smirk, it was clear he already knew the answer from overhearing her earlier conversation. She swallowed hard. "I used to, sir. Used to," Davenport exclaimed, turning to his audience. "Isn't that fascinating? I've been looking for entertainment all night. The band is on break, and I think we've all grown tired of streaming music. Why don't you play something for us, Lily?" Her stomach dropped. I couldn't possibly, sir. I haven't played properly in years. And I'm working—" "Nonsense!" Davenport waved away her objections. "I'm paying for the catering, which means I'm paying your salary tonight. Consider this part of your job." He opened the lid of the piano with a theatrical flourish. The polished keys gleamed under the chandelier light, both inviting and terrifying. "Sir, please," Lily whispered, aware of the growing discomfort of some guests, while others seemed amused by her predicament. "I'm really not prepared to—" "Come now," Davenport cut her off, his voice hardening slightly. "It's just a bit of fun. Unless, of course, you were lying about being able to play." He had her cornered, and they both knew it. Refusing would mean losing her job, both at the event and likely at the restaurant as well. Davenport was too valuable a customer. The management would never side with her. A woman in an expensive gown leaned toward her companion. "This is uncomfortable," she murmured, not quite quietly enough. "Oh, lighten up," her companion replied. "He's just having some fun with the help." Davenport's eyes never left Lily's face. "Well, we're waiting." His expression made it clear this was payback for the mixed-up order, for any perceived slight she might have committed while serving him. This was about power, his abundance of it, her lack of it. With trembling legs, Lily walked to the piano bench. The room swam before her eyes as whispers and snickers followed her path. She sat down, her uniform suddenly feeling too tight, too obvious a marker of her status in this room of privilege. "What shall she play?" Davenport asked the crowd, playing the generous host. "Classical? Jazz pop? Though I doubt my Steinway has ever been subjected to Taylor Swift." More laughter followed. "How about chopsticks?" someone called out, triggering another round of amusement. Lily stared at the keys, her humiliation complete. 3 years ago, she had performed Liszt at Lincoln Center as part of a student showcase. Now she was entertainment for bored rich people who saw her as nothing more than a server to be toyed with. Davenport leaned close, his voice low but firm. "Play something, anything, or don't bother showing up to work tomorrow." He straightened up and addressed the room again. "Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Lily, the piano-playing waitress." With no choice left, Lily placed her fingers on the keys. The touch of a real piano, not her cheap keyboard, sent a jolt through her. Despite everything, despite the mocking audience and Davenport's cruel smile, the piano felt like home. She began with a simple piece, one she could play in her sleep, Debussy's Clair de Lune. Her fingers were stiff at first, hitting wrong notes, betraying her nervousness. Some guests exchanged glances, their expectations confirmed. Just a waitress with delusions of talent. But then something shifted. The familiar notes flowed through her fingers into the instrument, and the music wrapped around her like an old friend. She forgot about the watching eyes, about Davenport, about her uniform and aching feet. There was only the music, gentle and flowing like moonlight on water. As the piece progressed, the chatter in the room gradually died down. Lily didn't notice. Her eyes had closed, her body swaying slightly as she surrendered to the melody she'd played 1,000 times. Her right wrist, usually quick to pain, held strong as her fingers danced across the keys with growing confidence. When the final notes of Clair de Lune faded, there was a moment of silence. Lily opened her eyes, suddenly remembering where she was and why. She expected to see mocking faces, or worse, indifference. Instead, she saw surprise. Tentative applause began, growing stronger. Lily stood ready to make her escape, but Davenport stepped forward again. "Well," he said, his voice betraying slight surprise. "That was actually quite good. But anyone can play Debussy. How about something with a bit more challenge? Bartok, perhaps? Or Rachmaninoff?" His smile had turned calculating. He had expected her to embarrass herself, to provide his guests with an amusing story about the waitress who thought she could play. Now he was determined to expose her limitations. "I don't think," Lily began. "Rachmaninoff it is," Davenport declared, "unless, of course, that's beyond your abilities." The challenge hung in the air between them. Guests were watching with renewed interest. The initial cruelty of the moment had shifted into something else, curiosity, perhaps. How far could this waitress go? Lily should have walked away. She should have thanked them politely and returned to collecting glasses. That would have been the sensible choice. Swallow her pride, finish her shift, go home. But something in Davenport's smug expression sparked a long-dormant flame inside her. She thought of her parents who had sacrificed everything for her music. She thought of the years of practice, the calloused fingers, the dreams put aside but never completely abandoned. Without a word, she sat back down at the piano. This time, she didn't hesitate. Her fingers struck the opening chords of Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2. Bold, demanding, passionate. It was the last piece she had been working on at Juilliard before everything fell apart. She hadn't played it in years, not properly on a real piano. The room faded away again, but this time she wasn't escaping. She was declaring herself. Every powerful chord, every delicate run, every dramatic pause was a statement. "You may see a waitress, but I am more than what you see." Davenport's smirk slowly faded as Lily's hands commanded the piano with undeniable skill. This was not the fumbling performance he had anticipated. This was not entertainment at someone else's expense. This was artistry, and everyone in the room could hear it. The Steinway grand piano sang under Lily's touch. The rich, resonant notes of Rachmaninoff filled the vast room, bouncing off marble floors and high ceilings. This wasn't just playing. This was a conversation between musician and instrument, between artist and audience. Davenport stood frozen, champagne flute halfway to his lips. This was not what he had expected. Not at all. The guests who had been snickering moments before fell silent. A woman in a designer gown who had been scrolling through her phone looked up, startled by the sudden intensity of the music. A famous tech entrepreneur stopped mid-sentence in his conversation, turning toward the piano with raised eyebrows. Lily's world narrowed to just her hands and the keys. The piece was difficult, brutally so, with its demand for power, speed, and delicacy all at once. It required not just technical skill but emotional depth. In another life, she would have performed it with an orchestra behind her, in a concert hall rather than a millionaire's living room, wearing a gown instead of a server's uniform. But none of that mattered now. The music poured out of her, years of training flowing through her muscle memory. Her right wrist, which usually protested after even brief sessions on her keyboard at home, felt strong and sure. Perhaps it was adrenaline. Perhaps it was the quality of the instrument. Or perhaps it was simply that in this moment, her body remembered its purpose. A few minutes into the piece, a younger man with tousled hair and an expensive but rumpled suit pushed his way to the front of the crowd. Unlike most guests, his eyes weren't wide with surprise but narrowed in concentration. He watched Lily's hands with the focus of someone who understood exactly what he was witnessing. "That's Thomas Chen," someone whispered. "The conductor?" Lily didn't hear them. She was deep in the heart of the concerto now, navigating its most technically demanding passages. Her fingers flew across the keys in a blur, striking the powerful chords with precision and feeling. Sweat beaded on her forehead, but her focus never wavered. A phone appeared in someone's hand, then another and another. People began recording her performance discreetly at first, then openly as it became clear that something extraordinary was happening. Davenport watched, his initial smirk long gone. His plan to humiliate the waitress who had dared to mix up his order had backfired spectacularly. Instead of providing his guests with an amusing diversion, the server who thought she could play, he had unwittingly given them a genuine musical experience. And judging by the expressions on their faces, they were mesmerized. The piece built toward its climax, and Lily leaned into the piano, her body moving with the music. Gone was the careful, reserved server who had slipped invisibly between tables all evening. In her place was an artist commanding attention, demanding to be heard. As she reached the powerful final movements, tears streamed down her face, though she was unaware of them. This piece had been the last one she had worked on with her parents' support. The last one before the accident that took them away. The last one before pain forced her from the path she had been on since childhood. Playing it now was both an act of remembrance and of reclamation. When the final chords resonated through the room, Lily's hands stilled on the keys. For a moment, no one moved. The silence was profound, the kind that follows only when something has truly touched an audience. Then someone began to clap. Others joined in, the applause building until it filled the room as completely as the music had moments before. Lily opened her eyes, coming back to herself, to the room, to reality. The sight that greeted her was surreal. Manhattan's elite giving her a standing ovation, genuine amazement on faces that had earlier looked through her. She rose shakily from the bench, unused to applause after 3 years of carrying trays and taking orders. That was, Davenport began as he approached the piano, for once seemingly at a loss for words. His face was difficult to read. Surprise, certainly, perhaps embarrassment, maybe even a touch of admiration. "Unexpected," he finally said. Before Lily could respond, the young man who had been watching her so intently stepped forward. "Thomas Chen," he introduced himself, offering his hand. "I'm with the New York Philharmonic." Lily's mouth went dry. Everyone in the classical music world knew Thomas Chen, the prodigy who had become one of the youngest conductors ever to lead the Philharmonic. "I know who you are," she managed to say, her voice barely audible over the continued applause and excited chatter that had broken out around them. "Where did you study?" he asked, his eyes intense. "Juilliard. But I had to leave in my second year. Why?" His question was direct, not rude, but genuinely curious. Lily glanced at Davenport, who was listening to their conversation with undisguised interest. "It's a long story," she said. Chen nodded, seeming to understand her reluctance to elaborate in the current setting. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card. "Call me," he said. "Tomorrow. We should talk." "I have to work tomorrow," Lily replied automatically, the reality of her life reasserting itself even as the applause continued around her. "Call anyway," Chen insisted, pressing the card into her palm. Nearby guests had begun to gather around, eager to meet the waitress with unexpected talent. An older woman in an elegant black dress touched Lily's arm. "My dear, that was magnificent," she said. "I haven't been moved like that in years. Are you performing anywhere currently?" Before Lily could explain that her performing days were behind her, that she was just a server who used to play, someone else cut in with another question, and then another. Suddenly she was surrounded by the very people who had been prepared to laugh at her humiliation minutes earlier. Across the room, the catering manager watched with his mouth open, unable to process the transformation of his staff member into the center of attention. A young woman with bright red hair pushed through the crowd, phone in hand. "I'm from the Herald," she said breathlessly. "Kate Wong. I was here covering the acquisition for the business section, but this is a much better story." "Can I get your full name? And can I ask a few questions?" I don't," Lily stammered, overwhelmed by the attention. "Perhaps not right now," came a smooth voice, and Davenport was suddenly beside her, his hand on her elbow. His touch was light, but Lily could feel the tension in it. "Miss Zhang," Lily supplied her last name automatically. "Miss Zhang has been working all evening," Davenport continued, his charm fully deployed now. "I think she deserves a break after that remarkable performance, don't you?" The reporter looked disappointed but nodded. "Of course, but I'd love to follow up. This is a wonderful human interest story." She handed Lily her card as well. Davenport guided Lily away from the crowd, toward a quieter corner of the vast room. His grip on her elbow tightened slightly. "That was quite a show," he said, his voice low enough that only she could hear. "You made me look like a fool." Lily stiffened. "That wasn't my intention, Mr. Davenport. You asked me to play, and I did." "Indeed." His eyes were calculating as they studied her face. "You're not just a waitress, are you?" "I'm exactly what you see," Lily replied, finding courage in the aftermath of her performance. "I'm someone who serves food at your table and who can play Rachmaninoff. The two aren't mutually exclusive. Something flickered across his face, surprise perhaps at her directness. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Davenport's assistant appeared at his side, phone in hand, looking anxious. "Sir, you should see this," he said, showing Davenport the screen. Lily glimpsed a social media page. With a jolt, she recognized herself at the piano, a video already uploaded and gathering comments. Davenport's expression darkened. "Who posted that?" "Multiple guests, sir. It's going viral." The assistant wasn't exaggerating. In the brief minutes since her performance had ended, videos had appeared on several platforms. Piano Waitress was already trending locally. Davenport turned back to Lily, his expression unreadable. "Well, Miss Chang, it seems your moment in the spotlight isn't over yet." Lily barely remembered the rest of the night. Somehow she managed to finish her shift, though nothing about it was normal. Guests who had previously looked through her now stopped her to ask questions about her musical background. The other servers shot her curious glances. The catering manager, sensing the shift in dynamics, even asked if she needed a break. By the time she finally left Davenport's mansion, it was nearly 3 a.m. The night air felt different against her skin, as if even the world outside had changed during those minutes at the piano. "Need a ride?" Lily turned to see Thomas Chen leaning against a sleek black car, his driver standing nearby. She hadn't expected him to still be there. "I take the subway," she said, clutching her bag to her side. "At this hour? Please, let me drop you off. We can talk on the way." Too exhausted to argue, Lily nodded and slid into the back seat beside him. As the car pulled away from Davenport's house, she stared out the window at the city lights, still trying to process everything that had happened. "You never explained why you left Juilliard," Chen said after a few moments of silence. Lily considered deflecting again, but something about the night had broken down her usual walls. "My parents died. Car accident. I was in my second year." Chen's expression softened. "I'm sorry. I developed carpal tunnel right afterward. Needed surgery. No parents meant no insurance, no money for the proper rehabilitation. Had to drop out, lost my scholarship." The facts were easier to state plainly than to embellish with emotion, especially to a stranger. "And now you wait tables." "Now I pay rent," Lily corrected him. "And I eat. And I keep a roof over my head." The car glided through the nearly empty streets. Chen seemed to be choosing his words carefully. "What you played tonight, that wasn't just technically impressive. It had soul, feeling." He turned to look at her directly. "You don't hear that often, even from career musicians." "It's been a while since anyone heard me play," Lily admitted. "My apartment walls are thin. I use a keyboard with headphones." "Your wrist, is it still a problem?" She flexed her right hand unconsciously. "Sometimes. Not tonight, strangely. Adrenaline, probably. And anger." Chen smiled slightly. "Davenport didn't know what he was unleashing when he tried to embarrass you." Lily said nothing. The memory of Davenport's face when she'd finished playing would stay with her for a long time. "I meant what I said back there," Chen continued. "Call me tomorrow. The Philharmonic has a young artist program, and there are other opportunities, teaching, recording sessions. Your talent shouldn't be wasted carrying trays." The car stopped in front of Lily's apartment building, a worn walk-up in a neighborhood far removed from Davenport's world. Chen handed her his card again. "Promise you'll call," he said. "I will," Lily replied, though she wasn't entirely sure she meant it. The night felt dreamlike, and she half expected to wake up tomorrow to find that none of it had happened. She slept for just a few hours before her phone woke her. A call from her mother's oldest friend, May. "Lily? Is that you playing piano in the video?" "What video?" Lily asked groggily. "It's everywhere. Someone posted you playing at some rich man's house. You're trending, child." Fully awake now, Lily opened her laptop. Sure enough, the video had exploded overnight. Hundreds of thousands of views. Comments piling up beneath. "Who is she?" "That's Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2. And she's playing it in a server's uniform." "When she hits those keys at 2:14, chills. Does anyone know her name?" "She's incredible." Lily's hands shook as she scrolled through the comments. The video had been posted by a verified account belonging to a fashion designer who had been at the party. The caption read, "When the waitress turns out to be a piano prodigy. Best moment of the night. Una piano waitress." More calls came in. Friends who had seen the video, former classmates from Juilliard, even her old piano teacher. Her phone wouldn't stop ringing. Then came a text from her boss at Luciel. Need to talk. Call me ASAP. With a sinking feeling, Lily called him back, expecting to be fired for the scene at Davenport's party. Zhang, her boss said when he answered. I've had 6 calls this morning about you. I'm sorry about last night, Lily began. Sorry? Are you kidding? The restaurant's phone is ringing off the hook. People asking if the piano waitress works here. Davenport himself called. Lily's stomach dropped. What did he say? There was a pause on the other end of the line. He's reserved a table for tonight. Requested you specifically as his server. Another pause. And he's asked to speak with you privately before dinner service begins. He'll be here at 4. Lily's mind raced. What could Davenport possibly want? To gloat? To threaten her for upstaging him at his own party? Should I come in? She asked cautiously. Of course you should come in, her boss replied. But Lily, whatever Davenport offers you, remember who gave you a job when you needed one. The implication was clear. Her boss expected Davenport to try to hire her away. The thought was so absurd that Lily almost laughed. What would a tech billionaire want with a failed piano student? After hanging up, she finally called the number on Thomas Chen's card. His assistant answered, putting her through immediately when she gave her name. Lily, Chen said warmly, I was hoping you'd call. Have you seen what's happening online? It's overwhelming, she admitted. It's just the beginning. Listen, I spoke with some colleagues this morning. We have an opening in our education outreach program, teaching music to kids in underserved schools. The pay is decent and the hours would let you work on your own music. Plus, we have access to practice rooms, physical therapy for musicians. Are you offering me a job? Lily cut in, stunned. I'm offering you a way back, Chen replied simply. Your playing last night moved a lot of people, myself included. Talent like yours doesn't come along often. Will you at least come in and talk about it? Lily agreed to meet him the following day. As she hung up, she felt a strange mixture of hope and anxiety. For 3 years, she had carefully avoided thinking too much about what she had lost. Now suddenly the door to that world was cracking open again. By the time she arrived at the restaurant that afternoon, the video had over 1 million views. The manager ushered her in through the back entrance, where a small crowd of people with cameras had gathered. Vultures, he muttered. They've been here all day. Go wait in my office. Davenport will be here soon. Lily sat alone in the small, cluttered office, trying to calm her racing thoughts. What would she say to Davenport? What did he want from her? At precisely 4 o'clock, there was a knock at the door. The manager opened it to reveal Davenport, impeccably dressed as always, though perhaps with a touch less confidence than he had shown the previous night. Miss Zhang, he said with a nod. May I come in? The manager excused himself, closing the door behind him. Davenport remained standing, studying Lily with an expression she couldn't quite read. I imagine you're wondering why I asked to see you, he began. The thought crossed my mind, Lily replied, trying to keep her voice steady. Davenport's mouth twitched, almost a smile, but not quite. I made a mistake last night. I misjudged you, and I made a spectacle of both of us in the process. Of all the things Lily had expected him to say, an admission of error wasn't among them. She waited, unsure how to respond. I'm not in the habit of apologizing, Davenport continued, but in this case it seems appropriate. So, I apologize for putting you in that position. Lily watched him carefully, looking for the catch, the hidden angle. Thank you, she said finally. But I don't think that's why you came here. This time Davenport did smile, a real one that reached his eyes. Perceptive. No, I came because I have a proposition for you. He pulled out a chair and sat across from her, leaning forward with the intensity that had likely closed countless business deals. The video of your performance has over 1 million views now. By tomorrow, it will likely have 10 million. People love an underdog story, a hidden talent discovered. They especially love seeing someone like me, he gestured to himself, being proven wrong so publicly. I wasn't trying to prove you wrong, Lily said. I was just playing. Nevertheless, that's the story being told. Now we can let that story play out naturally. You'll have your 15 minutes of fame, maybe book a few appearances, maybe restart your career if you're lucky. Or we can control the narrative, shape it, use it. Lily studied Davenport's face, looking for signs of the arrogance she'd seen the night before. Instead, she found something unexpected. Respect, perhaps even a hint of admiration, carefully masked behind a businessman's calculated expression. "What do you mean by control the narrative?" she asked cautiously. Davenport leaned back in his chair. "I'm starting a foundation. The Davenport Arts Initiative. Its purpose will be to identify and support talented artists who lack resources or opportunities." "You would be our first success story." Lily blinked in surprise. "A foundation?" "The idea has been in development for some time," Davenport explained, though something in his tone suggested otherwise. "Last night simply accelerated the timeline." "You want to use me as publicity," Lily said flatly. "I want to offer you a scholarship, full funding to complete your degree, plus living expenses, medical care for your wrist, and access to performance opportunities." He held up his hand as she started to respond. "In return, yes, I'd ask you to be the face of the foundation. Your story is compelling. Talent interrupted by tragedy, rediscovered by chance." "By humiliation, you mean?" Lily corrected him. Davenport had the grace to look slightly uncomfortable. "A miscalculation on my part. But the outcome has benefited us both, hasn't it? You've been given a second chance, and I have the opportunity to transform a PR nightmare into something positive." There it was, the real reason for his sudden generosity. Davenport was doing damage control. The video showing him forcing a waitress to perform for his amusement wasn't a good look for someone of his stature. Transforming the story into one of philanthropy and opportunity was a clever move. "I already have an offer," Lily told him, "from Thomas Chen, the Philharmonic's education program. Teaching underprivileged kids." Davenport waved his hand dismissively. "Worthy but limited. I'm offering you the chance to complete what you started. To perform, not just teach. To be the artist you were meant to be." His words struck a chord. Teaching would be meaningful work. But the thought of returning to Juilliard, of pursuing her original dream, it pulled at something deep inside her. "I'd need time to think about it," she said. "Of course." Davenport pulled out a business card, his personal one, not the company card he handed out to most people. "But don't take too long. The story is moving quickly. We should move with it." After he left, Lily sat alone in the office, turning the card over in her hands. The offer was tempting, more than tempting. But could she trust the man who had tried to humiliate her just hours earlier? Her phone buzzed with a text from Chen. "Just heard Davenport is launching a music foundation with you as the centerpiece. Is this true?" News traveled fast in these circles. Lily texted back, "He made an offer. I haven't decided yet." Chen's response came quickly. "Be careful. His reputation is complicated. Call me if you want to talk." By the time Lily's shift ended that night, the video had indeed passed 10 million views. She had served tables to a packed house, many customers requesting her section specifically. Some asked for pictures or autographs, which she politely declined. This sudden fame felt fragile and strange. At home, she opened her laptop and searched for information about Victor Davenport. Articles about his business success were plentiful, but there were also pieces about his ruthless tactics, about companies he had acquired and gutted, about former employees who claimed he took credit for their innovations. Nothing in his history suggested a particular interest in the arts or education. The foundation seemed to be exactly what she had suspected, a hasty attempt to reshape the narrative around the viral video. Lily closed her laptop and sat down at her keyboard. She put on headphones and began to play, letting her fingers find their way through Debussy, Bach, and finally back to Rachmaninoff. Her wrist ached after a while, a reminder of the physical limitations that had contributed to her leaving music behind. Could Davenport's money and connections help with that? Probably. Would the price, becoming his foundation's poster child, be worth it? She slept fitfully, her dreams filled with pianos that turned into servers' trays and back again. Morning brought more calls, reporters, television producers, people claiming to be agents or talent scouts. Lily ignored most, unsure whom to trust in this unfamiliar world that was suddenly taking an interest in her. She did answer one call, from Kate Wong, the Herald reporter who had been at the party. "I've been researching your story," Wong said after introducing herself again. "I know about your parents, about your time at Juilliard. I'd like to write a proper piece about you, not just about the viral moment." Something about the reporter's straightforward approach appealed to Lily. Why? Because there's more to you than a viral video, Wong replied. And because Davenport is already trying to spin this his way. I heard about the foundation he's suddenly launching. You're quick, Lily observed. It's my job, Wong said simply. Would you meet me? Just to talk? They arranged to meet that afternoon at a small coffee shop near Lily's apartment. Wong was already there when Lily arrived, a notebook open in front of her. Thank you for coming, the reporter said, offering her hand. I promise not to take too much of your time. For the next hour, Lily found herself telling her story, her childhood filled with music, her parents' sacrifice to send her to Juilliard, the accident that took them, the injury that took her career, the years of simply surviving. Wong listened attentively, asking thoughtful questions. And now? She asked finally. Davenport's offer seems generous. It is, Lily admitted. But you don't trust his motives, Lily nodded. Would you? Wong considered this. Honestly, I think his motives are exactly what you suspect. Damage control, reframing the narrative. But that doesn't necessarily mean his offer isn't worth considering. People do the right things for the wrong reasons all the time. I have another option, Lily said, telling her about Chen's offer with the Philharmonic. Less money, less prestige but more authentic, Wong summarized, and it would keep you independent of Davenport. Exactly. Wong closed her notebook. For what it's worth, I think your talent will find its way regardless of which path you choose. The question is which path will let you live with yourself. That evening, Lily made 2 phone calls. The first was to Chen, accepting his offer with the Philharmonic's education program. The second was to Davenport. I appreciate your offer, she told him, but I've decided to go another direction. There was a pause on the other end of the line. The Philharmonic, he said. It wasn't a question, yes. Another pause. Lily expected anger, perhaps a threat. Instead, Davenport surprised her again. I understand, he said, though I think you're making a mistake. My offer would have been more comprehensive. I'm sure it would have been, Lily agreed, but I need to find my own way back to music. The foundation will still launch, Davenport said, though without your involvement, obviously. I'm glad, Lily replied, and found that she meant it. Other musicians deserve a second chance, too. 6 months later, Lily sat in a classroom in the Bronx watching a group of middle schoolers attempt a simplified version of Mozart. Their playing was hesitant, sometimes painfully off-key, but their faces shone with concentration and occasional triumph when they got a passage right. Her wrist still bothered her sometimes, but regular physical therapy, covered by her new health insurance, had improved it significantly. She wasn't ready for the concert stage, might never be, but she had returned to music on her own terms. Wong's article had been published 2 weeks after their meeting. Thoughtful and nuanced, it told Lily's story while also examining the broader issues of access to arts education and the impact of medical costs on aspiring artists. It generated enough interest that several other donors had come forward to fund scholarships similar to what Davenport had proposed. As for Davenport himself, he had indeed launched his foundation. Its first major donation had gone to create a rehabilitation program for musicians with injuries, the very thing that might have saved Lily's career years earlier. She couldn't help but wonder if that choice had been influenced by their conversation. After class ended, Lily remained at the piano, playing softly as the students filed out. One girl lingered, watching Lily's hands with fascination. Could you play that thing you played in the video? The girl asked shyly. The one that made you famous? Lily smiled. Rachmaninoff? It's very difficult. I want to learn it someday, the girl said with complete conviction. Then you will, Lily told her. But we'll start with something simpler. She began to play a gentle melody, then patted the bench beside her. The girl sat down, placing her small hands on the keys next to Lily's. Like this, Lily guided her, finding more joy in this simple moment of teaching than in all the attention her viral fame had brought. This, she realized, was what music had always been meant to be for her. Not just performance, but connection. Not a path to fame, but a way to touch lives. Outside the school, a sleek black car waited. Inside, Victor Davenport watched as Lily emerged from the building, surrounded by chattering students. She looked happy, at peace in a way she hadn't that night at his party. Perhaps she had made the right choice after all. He signaled to his driver to pull away before she noticed the car. His foundation would continue without her involvement. It had taken on a life of its own, actually doing good in ways he hadn't initially intended. Some mistakes, it seemed, led to unexpected places. For both of them,